Hello and welcome to episode 3 of our Ollie Murphy weekly update. And the form's still going well, Ollie. I'm your host, Daniel Hussey. But yeah, the yards are still in good nick, thank God, Ollie.
Yeah, they're still running well. Had another good week, Dan. So long may it continue. Unfortunately, we've very little rain around, so I think plenty of national hunt trainers will be quiet enough now until the rain comes. But one thing we're not in control of.
Yeah, you even saw with all the decks on Saturday and Sunday's race. And I think one of the live ITV races this week has double digit fields. And I think it can mostly be put down to the ground, but obviously the competitiveness of the racing as well is definitely something to note too.
Yeah, it's been unbelievably dry over here in Britain for the last couple of weeks, and there's no rain on the horizon, unfortunately. So yeah, for national hunt tracks to be watering in the early part of February is crazy. It doesn't really make sense, but that's the world we live in at the moment, and we have to deal with it.
And before we get into some of the winners and big horses to follow, Ollie, did you catch any of the Dublin Racing Festival? Because it's hard not to ask you about this because Twitter was alive. I was there the Saturday. It's brilliant. A lot of UK fans there too.
Yeah, no, I did. It was great viewing, wasn't it? There were a few bubbles burst, a few surprises, and Willie Mullins training an awful lot of winners, which was no surprise to anyone. But yeah, it looked like very good racing, and I'd love to have runners over there in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely one to aim for. And one of the bubbles that was burst, at least in the anti-post markets, he could still obviously win the Supremes Facile Vega. And your horse over 2 miles, Chasing Fire, ran very well. I was interested in Aidan Coleman's comments after the game. He's a horse that you just got to keep at and keep him concentrating because he kind of maybe falls asleep at times.
Yeah, he's got a very, very good attitude and a very, very good way of doing things. He's vertically he's that laid back, so it's not a bad way to have a horse. He's 4 from 4 for me now, and he's most likely to go to the Supreme unbeaten. I don't think he'll run before then. Obviously, it'll be his toughest task to date, but there's plenty of horses kind of falling by the wayside or prep runs, which I don't mind seeing at the moment. But yeah, hopefully he's going to go there with a nice each way chance.
And yeah, look, normally maybe even 5 years ago, Ollie, and your couple of itchy feet in the Supreme, they were big runner fields. The Supreme sort of changed over the last 2 or 3 years, a combination of COVID and a number of different reasons. It could be a 7-8 runner Supreme, which would that suit Chasing Fire, or would he prefer a big field?
Yeah, no, it wouldn't bother me really. The less there are to run, the less there are to beat. So a small field would suit me well. I'd imagine I'm gonna run a couple in it. So it looks a wide open race, doesn't it? After Facile Vega got beat the weekend, it kind of makes the race wide open. Barry Connell's horse kind of looks the most solid option coming over from the other side of the water. Charlie Longston horse has just got beat now in Huntingdon Rare Edition, and he was kind of up there with the best of the Brits. So yeah, it's a funny old race, a funny old market. It's changed plenty, and yeah, I don't mind seeing a few of them falling by the wayside.
And you mentioned a couple. You might have a couple of runners. Any one or two or short list of horses that you're looking at potentially aimed at that race, or even any of the novice hurdles at Cheltenham?
Yeah, Strong Leader will probably go for a Supreme as well. I'm yet to discuss it fully with his owner, but another horse who's 3 from 3 and a horse not to be overlooked. He's been very impressive 3 times. Probably more raw than Chasing Fire. Hasn't had a run point to point, and jumping hadn't come naturally to him first off. But he's on an upward curve. He's a horse I like a lot, and I'd imagine that would be the plan. I think he's made for Aintree now, but it's very, very hard to tell an owner that Cheltenham isn't the place to go and to take your time and go to Aintree, and especially this year Supreme looking so wide open.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not have a go for sure? Thunder Rock, I was watching this on a small screen at Leopardstown. I have to say the whole place was glued to this race, the biggest race in England over the weekend. I thought Thunder Rock ran a very good race for large spells of it, Ollie. How did he come out of the race?
Yeah, he's come out of it really well, actually. I thought jumped the second last and he was going to come and win his race, but I never thought I'd say it, but he's a horse who wants to be stepping up to 3 miles now. Whether he goes to Cheltenham or not, I'm not 100% sure. He may well be freshened up for Aintree, albeit there is chat that he may well go for the turn as the 3 mile novice. So yeah, he's a good horse in his own right. I think a step up and trip, we're going to find a little bit more improvement again, which he'll have to find to be very competitive. But with his form with the real whacker, I think he's only kind of 4 or 5 to 1, and with a smoother run round, I think we'd have beaten him in Cheltenham on his last start. So maybe he does deserve to take his chance in that race, you know.
Yeah, the Brown Advisory, the 3 miler. Quick one on that decision. Would it be based on ground, how the horse comes out of the race, bit of everything, I guess, will go into it?
Yeah, listen, of course, a bit of everything. We'll discuss it with owners and Ian Turner, Max and Ian Dale's racing manager, and see what we think the right thing to do is. He has had a relatively busy season now for a novice, but he takes his racing well. And yeah, he thrived on his racing in the spring last year, and listen, he may well do again this year.
Yeah, exciting horse to follow. And onto the Bective Stud, couple of winners. Olly, talk us through firstly about Fleurman before we get on to the all-weather.
Yeah, not very often you'd see me in Wolverhampton, but no, that was good. He's a horse who unfortunately hasn't taken to jumping hurdles how I'd have liked. I don't know how much he's in love with jumping, which, listen, it happens to some of these better flat horses, and we decided to revert back to the flat. I thought it was a good performance. They went steady, which didn't really suit him, and he got up in the closing stages. So yeah, nice to win with him. He's obviously got a lot of ability in that sphere, and I'd imagine we'll carry on down the flat route for the time being and see kind of where his limits lie.
Yeah, I had a look back, and you have had all-weather runners, more of them maybe in your early training career. Is that something for a horse that isn't maybe taken to hurling to maybe freshen them up, I guess, or want of a better description on the all-weather?
Yeah, I don't know how many flat winners I've trained, but I've trained a few since I started out, and I like winning. So if they can't win over jumps, we'll nip down the road to Wolverhampton or wherever and have a go there. But yeah, it's been a happy little stomping ground for me, Wolves, over the last few years, and yeah, listen, it's winning. We all want to win, and to be able to go down the road and go there and pick a win is great.
I think 26 I've counted here on the all-weather. So yeah, long may it continue.
Yeah, I'm not going to be breaking any records, but yeah, no, it's nice to tip away with an odd flat winner here.
Yeah, especially in the middle of a jump season, why not? African Dance was a good winner for Bective Stud. They're good supporters of the yard, I guess.
Yeah, brilliant to train for Noel and Valerie Moore, and obviously know them from my time in Gordon's. They're massive supporters of Irish racing and Gordon Elliott, and yeah, they've got 4 or 5 horses with me, and it was brilliant to get a couple of winners for them. Great to have their colours in the winners' enclosure in England. And listen, hopefully in time we'll have some nice horses run on a Saturday for them, and give them an excuse to get on a plane and come to England every now and then to see some of our race courses. But no, good to get a winner for them both. They're good people, big supporters of mine, and even bigger supporters of Gordon's. So no, I was really pleased with that.
Yeah, absolutely. They're very popular here in Ireland for sure. Very good. Always have really good horses all the time. Olly, on to this weekend. You mentioned to me, or you mentioned already with the ground and stuff, that you won't have as many runners. And what are the horses to look out for here? You have a few entries overnight in the 4-day stage.
Yeah, I'm only going to have, I'd say, 3, maybe 4 runners. Benign Dictator will run the maiden hurdle at Utoxeter. Will have to jump and travel a lot better than he did when 4th there in his last start. I fit him with a set of cheap pieces. And Fabrique on France, actually an ex-Bective Stud horse, makes his debut for new owners in the 2-mile handicap chase. He'll improve massively for a run. We'll probably want it a little bit further in time, but just getting him started for the season. And I've actually another flat runner on the all-weather in Lingfield, a horse that was placed over hurdles on his first start for me and disappointed with second start, Liverpool Night. Showed plenty of ability on the flat before joining me, so hopefully he's got an each-way chance and he can have a little chat with Fleurman before he leaves to go down to Lingfield on Saturday.
And is Dr. Ken an intended runner at Exeter on Sunday?
If the race cuts up, yes, but I didn't really fancy taking on Dan Skelton's horse, Lack de Constance, at the weights, so he may well get a Weatherby the following week. He needs a 3rd run to qualify to run in a nice handicap in the spring. Just conditions over here, you have to have had 3 runs to run a nice handicap, so I need to get a run to him somewhere, but may not be on Sunday.
And then out of those 4, anyone that you'd fancy going close enough? And there was a lot that need the run, cheap pieces on maiden hurdle.
Winner this week. Yeah, I thought I'd struggle for winner this week. To be honest, I did. Benign Dictator, and all three of those horses on Saturday have little each way chances. They'll have bigger. They'll have their cup finals kind of later on during the year, albeit they're fit and well and the horse is running great. But yeah, I thought, put my finger on it now, I'd struggle for a winner over the weekend. On a nice filly in the bumper at Ayr on Tuesday called She's a Fine Wine. So yeah, she will hopefully run well in the bumper at Ayr on Tuesday. But until we get a bit of rain, guys, we could be quiet enough, you know. So fingers crossed the heavens open sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that's the 505 in Ayr on Tuesday. Entered at the 4-day stage. Last question, Olly. I saw Racing TV. We're in the yard. It's an exciting time of year with those spring festivals. Is there any particular weekend, maybe outside the Cheltenham, Aintree and Sandown meetings, that you look forward to in this February, March, April time?
The end of the season, it's a good fun meeting going to Ayr for their Scottish Grand National meeting. It's always a good meeting, but listening to Cheltenham and Aintree are the two big, obviously, targets over here. We've got plenty of good racing during the spring, and yeah, we've still got a lot of racing to go. Hopefully the rain can continue to fall again in the not too distant future, but yeah, we've got all our good racing ahead of us, and I just think I could hit the bullseye somewhere in the spring at one big festival. I'd be absolutely over the moon.
Absolutely brilliant. Fingers crossed for the rain. Olly, thanks so much for talking. Chat next week.
Thanks, lads. See you next week. Cheers.
Cheers.